Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya, and tonight we have made it back to Monday. It is already mid-April, guys, April the 14th. And I just want to say hey to everybody. I hope everybody's had a great weekend. And listen, guys, we got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot of stuff to talk about. But first, I hope again everybody's doing good. Listen, guys, today at work I was slammed. I was tired. I left the workplace. I said, man, because one thing, when you're working first shift, guys, that time goes like this, at least for where I work at. But the weekend went just like this too. So it was almost like those 2 days were up and then back at it just like that, So, but again, listen, tonight we're going to talk about the economy like we always do, how things are pretty much manifesting itself with the tariffs in place. Because just right now, Donald Trump is slapping China with a 145% tariff. And of course, China retaliates and does it right back to us. So the stock market right now is not doing well at all, guys. So we're going to kind of chime in on this video that we're going to get ready to see in just a few minutes. Also, we're going to talk about people regretting their vote. There's a lot of other people that's speaking out now. People that are feeling the medical side of things because he's removing so many programs. Guess what? There's a lot of people that can't get medicines now. Some people can't get insurance to be seen from a doctor. So we're going to look at another segment dealing with the medical side of things and how that's affecting people on that aspect. About a couple weeks ago, we did talk about the food prices, which is still about the same. We did talk about the housing and the mortgage and all of that, and that hasn't improved either. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is how China is not taking no mess from the United States. Even though Donald Trump is slapping those big tariffs, they're slapping the tariffs right back at us. So let's listen in on this video, and then we're going to talk about this video after it's over.
China is digging in. Americans are waking up to a whole new escalation in the global trade war.
Trump's latest move, slapping a massive 145% tariff on Chinese goods, has sent shockwaves through global trade, leaving industries bracing for disaster and American consumers questioning whether they can afford the rising costs of everyday items. China swiftly retaliated with a 125% tariff on U.S. imports, escalating the trade war to unprecedented levels. This isn't just about policy, it's about real-world consequences for businesses, markets, and your wallet. Will the U.S. and China find a way to de-escalate tensions? Or are we headed for a global economic storm that will change the world forever? Trump supporters see these tariffs as a necessary step to protect American jobs and industries. They argue that China has long exploited U.S. openness to trade, and it's time for reciprocity. But opponents warn that such aggressive measures could backfire, alienating allies and undermining global economic stability. The tariffs are part of a broader strategy to pressure China into concessions on intellectual property rights, market access, and currency manipulation. However, critics argue that these tariffs will have far-reaching consequences for American consumers and businesses. Prices for goods are expected to skyrocket, leading to inflationary pressures across the U.S. economy. China's response was swift and decisive. By raising tariffs on U.S. goods to 125%, Beijing aimed to hurt Trump's voter base in rural America and manufacturing hubs. This move is seen as a strategic effort to demonstrate China's resolve against U.S. pressure. China's Ministry of Finance criticized the U.S., stating that these tariffs contravene international trade regulations and represent outright unilateral intimidation and coercion. The tit-for-tat measures have heightened tensions between the two nations, with analysts warning of a potential all-out financial war. China's stance is not just about economics, it's also about geopolitical leverage. By standing firm against U.S. tariffs, Beijing aims to demonstrate its resolve to other nations, potentially strengthening its position in regional trade agreements and diplomatic alliances. China has been strengthening its ties with Southeast Asian nations, exploring new trade agreements that could reduce its reliance on the U.S. market. This strategic move could reshape global trade dynamics and influence how other countries navigate their relationships with both the U.S. and China. The tech industry, a powerhouse of innovation and economic growth, is now squarely in the crosshairs. We're talking about potentially $100 billion in losses, according to some analysts. The semiconductor industry is particularly vulnerable because it relies heavily on Chinese raw materials and assembly plants. With both countries slapping on massive tariffs, production costs are soaring, and access to key markets is shrinking. This could lead to job losses in Silicon Valley and a slowdown in the development of new technologies like AI and 5G. The financial markets are already flashing warning signs. Global stock markets have nosedived, with the Dow Jones plunging 60% in a single week, Asian markets following suit, and investors fleeing to safer assets like gold and government bonds. Economists are warning that this escalating trade war could trigger a global recession, potentially costing the world economy trillions of dollars. The IMF has already slashed its global growth forecast, citing trade tensions as a major drag. Are we on the brink of another economic crisis? Market volatility is not just about numbers, it's about confidence. As investors lose faith in the stability of global trade, they're pulling back from riskier investments, which in turn exacerbates economic instability. Economists warn that the escalating trade war could push the world into a recession with an estimated cost of $2 trillion to global gross domestic product. The ripple effects are already being felt across industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, and finance. Manufacturing is particularly affected as factories in Europe and Asia scale back production due to reduced demand from both the US and China. Farmers in the Midwest face mounting losses as exports to China plummet under Beijing's retaliatory tariffs. Banks are bracing for increased loan defaults as businesses struggle to cope with rising costs and declining revenues. The International Monetary Fund has downgraded its global growth forecast for 2025 from 3.5% to just 1%, citing trade tensions as a major risk factor.
Now let's talk about what this guy was just saying about the stocks. See, the problem right now is they're not bowing down to these tariffs. They're striking back at us. And so, it's one thing to do the tariff and they bow down to us. But that's not what's happening. These people are saying, okay, you give us one, we're going to turn around and give you one right back. So it's like we're not getting anywhere, But in the meantime, products and services are going to start getting more and more expensive. And guess who that's going to fall on? The American people, I understand tariffs are supposed to be a negotiating tool. They're thinking that, if we tax them, because, I'm not saying that we were not getting what we deserve and that they weren't taking advantage of us. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that to recuperate all that money back, it don't look like they're letting up, and if they're not going to let up, it's going to still hurt the American people in the end, because the money's got to come from somewhere. And so they're just going to raise the prices of these products. Everything that they're shipping, especially China, everything is made in China for the most part. Things that were $100 now is $225 or $245. So it's like, who wants to pay for extra like that on something? So we're just going to have to keep looking in on this because this is going to get really, really ugly. I can see this already. But anyway, let's keep going.
Some analysts believe this could be worse than the 2008 financial crisis due to its widespread impact on multiple sectors simultaneously. Let's be honest, If there's one group poised to feel the pinch of this policy across the board, it's American consumers, you and me. Those tariffs don't just vanish into thin air. Companies hit with higher import costs either absorb the loss or pass those costs straight to you.
Like I said before, who do you think is going to pay for it? And he just said it. They're going to send that cost right to us. So it's unfortunate because, the American people, we as American people, we have enough to think about. We don't need more higher prices. And that's where when he ran on his campaign, he said he was going to tackle the economy. And, listen, I know it takes time. I know it's not going to be a blink of an eye and everything is just going to be, cleaned up and everything is hunky-dory. No, I understand that. But to me, these countries are not letting up, right? And we owe China. That's another thing. So it's almost like they know that they kind of have the power to a degree. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, let's move on to the next thing that we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about how the stocks are performing right now based on these tariffs.
We begin tonight with another down day on the Dow and other markets. Yesterday's excitement over a pause of President Trump's reciprocal tariffs, which drove the markets up, did not carry over. Nor did positive news today on inflation reverse fears over the president's tariffs. All indexes were down 2.5% or more. Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins me now. Okay, Kelly, what's today's explanation?
Look, I think a bit of reality set in. Yesterday investors were excited about the possibility of trade negotiations, but I spoke to a lot of them yesterday after the market closed, and they said, look, we think that the reaction was overhyped. We don't think we've seen the bottom of the market yet, and they were expecting a lot more volatility because things keep changing minute by minute, John, and that's exactly what you saw today. If you looked at the swings in the S&P 500 up and down, realistically, 10% tariff on other nation, it's not nothing, and 145% on China. This was the market saying, okay, maybe yesterday was a sugar high.
Right, and as we've been discussing, it's not just where the tariffs end up, it's all that uncertainty as they chop around and jump around. Okay, but in the old days, like a couple of months ago, an inflation report like the one that came out today, we would be having a totally different conversation. What did you see inside the inflation report?
So if the market's trading on the what if, we got the what, right? A snapshot of where prices are. So the CPI report, actually, this is the second month it has come down. This was a good report card for the administration. It was driven largely by gas prices coming down about 6% or so month over month. Shelter, food prices were a little bit up, but not enough to offset that, even though egg prices were up 5.9%. But you hit on something. I saw this morning and I'm thinking, wow, we're going to see a big reaction in the market. Any other day it would have been that, but that tariff uncertainty was too much. It outweighed it.
Yeah, and those egg prices are often a special category from regular inflation related items. Okay, so what do we look at, or what are you looking at as for the economy going forward?
So the tariff impact, you're not going to see that in inflation in the next month or couple of months, but earnings season starts tomorrow. And we're going to hear from 3 big banks. And so that means we're going to hear about the state of the consumer and how they see the economy developing over the next year. And what word are we going to hear, John, over and over?
Uncertainty.
Yes, uncertainty, exactly. We're also going to hear from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, who has had a very pessimistic outlook of late. So keep a watch on the markets.
All right, so you heard it from them. Listen, guys, it may take some months to get the market where it needs to, but it's going to be a roller coaster from what I'm hearing. They did say that the gas has came down, but the food and the shelter, home and shelter and all that is still about up. So that hasn't really changed that much. So we're just going to have to see, guys. I'm hoping that, things get better, but like I told y'all the other week, I've already moved some money out of my 401k because I don't trust the volatility right now. It's too up and down. 1 minute you're up, next minute you're going to drop 3,000 points in the Dow. Like, for me, I've got to keep all the coins I can, and I just can't be taking gambles right now because we don't know how long this is going to be. It may be a month, like this lady was saying. It could be 6 months, could be a year. I mean, we don't know. So I tell you, this is something. I just, we're just gonna have to keep a lookout for this. Okay, guys. All right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is we're also going to talk about how people feel about some of the policy changes as far as the Social Security benefits and the pension benefits. We're going to talk about some household people that, they're just letting you know, hey, this is affecting us huge. So let's listen in on this, and then we're going to talk about this video once it's over.
This latest move by the Trump administration will require new and existing recipients to either verify themselves online or have their IDs verified in person, even while more than 40 field offices are slated to be shut down by the Department of Government Efficiency. The changes are aimed at addressing the potential for fraudulent claims and improper payments, which amounted to $72 billion between 2015 to 2022. That's less than 1% of all the benefits dispersed during that time period. Advocates are raising concerns about the burden this could place on an already vulnerable population. For more on what this means going forward, I'm joined by Kathleen Romick, Director of Social Security and Disability Policy for the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining the NewsHour. So it seems the biggest change here is getting rid of the option to verify one's identity by phone. Who will that impact the most?
It's going to impact anyone who struggles with the online verification system that SSA has. So that could include people who are just not comfortable using online services, which often does include older people and people with disabilities, which are the main populations that the Social Security Administration serves. It also means people who are not allowed to open a My Social Security account. So, for example, children. Their families will have to visit a Social Security office in person to authenticate their identities and to do business with the agency. It also affects people who perhaps don't have a driver's license or don't have a smartphone in order to use those online authentication tools.
And of course, it's not just the elderly. There are 72.5 million Americans who receive these benefits, including children. I am curious how one does verify an ID by phone. The implication from the administration here is that that isn't a very secure way of verifying identification. Does this fix that?
The way that typically identities are authenticated by phone is by asking questions that only the person with that identity would be able to answer. So this is very commonly used by the private financial industry as well. When you have trouble logging into your bank account or your mortgage lender's account, then you would typically call and sort out any problems over the phone, and they'd ask you these knowledge-based questions. So that's what SSA has been doing, and it's pretty common practice. It's not perfect, but no identity proofing method is perfect.
So at the same time as these new requirements are set to go into effect, you have reports of DOJ closing field offices, particularly in the South. They're also letting go of thousands of employees. The agency says these offices weren't used much since online virtual meetings became more popular and should be consolidated to save costs. What do you say to that?
I think that anytime a field office closes to the public, it's going to have an impact on the people who live in that area. There's research that even shows that people are less likely to get the Social Security disability benefits that they have earned and that they are eligible for if a field office in their area closes.
We should say that we did reach out to Trump administration officials to be interviewed on the topic, and they did pass on that today. But they have also announced other changes in these reforms, including announcing plans to expedite processing, for example, of direct deposit changes to 1 business day. It was 30 days. Isn't that a win for Social Security recipients?
Well, if you are able to authenticate your identity online and make those changes online, then sure, faster processing makes sense. But the fact is, if you do have to go into a Social Security field office, as this new policy requires, then it's going to take you over a month to make that change. And that's because there's already a 2-hour hold time on the phone to get a call back from the Social Security Administration to make an appointment, and then over a month-long wait on average to get an appointment in a field office.
Groups like the AARP have long called on Congress to provide more resources to improving customer service at this administration, saying processing time for disability claims have doubled in just the past 5 years. Aren't changes due? And if so, what changes do you think should be prioritized?
Well, the reason that it's taking the Social Security Administration longer to process disability claims and too long to answer the phone and to make appointments with people is because there are already not enough staff members working at SSA. And that's because of years of underfunding. And so the Trump administration is actually moving to double down on those staff cuts. They're planning for another 7,000 staff cuts at the Social Security Administration this year. So what that's going to mean is fewer people answering the phones, fewer people taking appointments, fewer people processing claims. And that's going to mean longer delays in each one of those areas. And it's going to make it harder for applicants and beneficiaries to access their benefits. And it's not just beneficiaries either, but it's going to affect people who are trying to access their Social Security statement, people who need a replacement Social Security card because they're seeking a job or just got married. These services affect everyone.
Kathleen Romig with the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you.
All right, so you heard it. The changes as far as Trump implementing that they have to verify their identity, they're making it harder and harder now, and see, the thing is, a lot of people on Social Security and disability benefits, and even some of the pension benefits, most of them are older people that are not, they may not have that technology skill to log in and have a username and password, and and so they're making it even harder just to access and to get the information that you need. I mean, you can't even get hardly a Social Security card because they're getting rid of all the staff. It's kind of like, people don't have time. And then the thing is, if you're closing down these facilities in these local cities, well, some people don't have the transportation to go to another town 30, 40, 50 minutes away and stand in line for 2 or 3 hours only to be told, oh, well, we can't see you today. We'll see you tomorrow. You have to come back and make an appointment. And it's just craziness, It's kind of like the DMV, but they're making it harder and harder, and that's the thing. You should be making this easy for people. Don't get me wrong. I know there's fraud out there. I know people have been taken advantage of, and there's been Social Security checks that's been cashed and it wasn't supposed to be cashed. But listen, that has absolutely nothing to do with the people who are legit, though. What about the people that they're already in the system? They've worked. You've got their social. Their history. They've been putting into this this system for years and years and years. You know what I'm saying? So this is just, I'm just not, I just, I mean, I'm being honest, guys. This is just terrible. I'm sorry. I mean, now you got to go into a facility to identify yourself, and like this lady was saying, some people don't even have identification anyway. They don't have no license, and it's just a whole big rigmarole. But anyway, let's keep on going, guys. The last thing that we're going to talk about is people who actually regret their vote. And guess what? These people need help. These people are depending on these benefits, and these benefits are getting cut. Some of this is life and death, guys. This is not just people just getting money and no, this is people's benefits, medical, everything, So let's listen in on a few people that voted for Trump and how they feel right about now as far as these policy changes.
Of my medication, it runs $20,000 a month without insurance. I make $800 a month. Oh, that will kill me. That would kill my friends. That would kill millions of people in this country if they lose their health care.
We're in California's District 22, a rural community in the state's Central Valley. This district voted for Trump for the first time in 2024, but now his policies threaten one of the benefits people here rely on the most.
It bothers me when people like Elon Musk say that people on those programs are the parasite class. It's just cruel.
Do you know anyone personally who voted for President Trump but depends on benefits like Medicaid?
Oh yeah. I know a lot of people.
Trump promised a lot of things. I thought it would be more family values and those programs that they really need here.
One of those promises was to protect Medicaid, which 67% of people in this district rely on. It's the largest percentage of any district in the entire country.
Can you guarantee that Medicare and Medicaid will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, we're not going to touch it.
But his administration just proposed an $880 billion cut to Medicaid over the next 10 years. So we wanted to come here to find out how people are feeling about Trump and his administration's decision that could have a huge impact on one of the benefits they rely on the most. One resident who would be impacted by Medicaid cuts is 64-year-old Irma Arredondo, who voted for Trump in 2024. Irma has several chronic health issues, including type 1 diabetes. She's also a full-time caregiver for her daughter, who has cerebral palsy, and her sister, who has Turner syndrome.
Valerie have her medication for her seizures. She needs care everything. And I just give massage to her hands, to her legs. I stay with her until she falls asleep.
It sounds like you take really good care of her.
Oh, and my baby is my dog.
So you, your sister Irene, and your daughter Valerie, you're all on Medicaid. And how important is Medicaid for your family?
Can you imagine? We live on a daily basis with sicknesses. This is for the cholesterol too. This is also for my blood pressure.
So Medicaid pays for all of it?
Yes.
If you didn't have Medicaid, how much would this cost you? How much money?
Thousands maybe.
Thousands. And that's just for you?
That's for me.
Not for your daughter? Not for your sister?
No. The medicine that my daughter takes for seizures, I won't be able to afford it. So we feel hopeless if those cuts come, What we're going to do.
Irma was a farm worker for more than a decade. She believes that some of her and her children's health issues can be linked to the pesticides she was exposed to while working in the fields.
When I was pregnant with my child, I was working in the field. I remember it was this little airplane and it sprayed us. But when my baby born, the doctor just said, "Oh, something's missing." And when he gave me my baby don't have her arm.
So with these risks that you and your community face in agriculture, and then to have the system threaten to take away your health insurance, to take away protection, how does it make you feel?
Like I told you, I feel like these stubby nuts in the back.
Did you hear what she said? She said they feel like they've been stabbed in the back. And I mean, this is sad. I mean, like I said, people don't care unless it affects them. And that's all I keep saying. I mean, this is everyday working class, everyday people that they have to have this stuff. This is life and death. They have to have medicines. I mean, and people are making a big deal about Doge and all this other stuff. And people, this is the real reality of what people are going through right now. So, but let's just keep going, and then we're going to shut it down for tonight.
Hurting people in the process.
District 22's representative is David Valadeo, a Republican who voted in favor of the budget resolution to cut Medicaid, after initially voicing concerns about how potential cuts to social programs could affect his constituents. If just 2 Republicans vote no on the final legislation, they could stop Medicaid from being cut.
The folks in this district have voted for him because he, in the past, has been able to stand up against his party. But now he's really stuck between a rock and a hard place because it seems as if the Trump administration is going to really ask for loyalty from him and for him to play ball on every single issue, not just the issues that play well in this district. And so that might mean that they expect him to vote for things that are going to hurt his constituents directly.
If we could go.
All right, guys. So I just want you to kind of see, how people are feeling as far as these are people that, again, voted for Trump, guys. These are not Democrats. These are not independent. These are Republican voters that are seeing the effects of these policy changes, guys. It's bad. That's all I'm going to say is bad. So, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and kind of end it for tonight. But I will be back on Thursday like normal, guys, 8 o'clock. Because we're going to start talking about Michelle Obama's new podcast. We talked about it maybe about a month ago. But we got to kind of revitalize that because there's a few episodes that we need to kind of tackle, okay? Also, we are going to talk about the sports again. And also, listen, last Thursday, and I did a live last Thursday because I was exhausted, y'all. I just did a regular live, just resting. And I appreciate everybody tuning in and just saying hello. We had a great time Friday night, and we had a great time Saturday as well. We're still going to keep covering the NBA highlights and basketball. And so please check me out, 8 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Okay? Okay, guys. Well, if you enjoyed the content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, please hit the notification bell. That will let you know when I come on to YouTube. You won't miss any episodes. Okay? Okay, guys. Well, I will see everybody on Thursday at 8 p.m. I want everybody to have a great rest of their week, and I will see you then. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.